Hey guys, welcome to the inaugural episode of our new show, Discount Paranormal. Tin hanging out with Justin.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey guys, yeah, we used to be Gamma Ray. We had to change it. One of our co-hosts passed,
Yeah,
so we didn't feel
yeah.
like it was good to keep going with that same show name. It's kind of like when somebody passed away in White Zombie, they weren't White Zombie anymore. You went to Rob Zombie,
Yeah.
and then that's when shit really went downhill. So
Well, I mean, even before
Rob
that,
Zombie,
we were talking about name changes and stuff like that, anyways. Kind of more,
yeah,
um, because when we started with Gamma Ray, we had a different idea where we were heading
yeah,
compared to where we actually ended up. So,
yeah, yeah. It was for the best.
yeah.
To be honest, because it didn't make any sense with like where the
No,
show
because
went.
originally we were like, oh, let's talk about we'll talk about video games and comic books and stuff like that. And then
Yeah,
we did what 3 episodes of that, then never touched it
yeah,
again.
and then we decided we didn't want the entire world to know how fucking nerdy we really were. you know how bad it got,
Yeah,
how quickly our coolness deteriorated. I mean, by talking. It's
instantaneously.
happening right now, for instance. you know, but we kind of picked a pretty I don't know, heavy hitter for our first episode. So we decided to go with an actual person. We're not going to talk about a cryptid, something that doesn't exist. This guy existed allegedly. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I never met him.
I believe he did once exist.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So for that, we're gonna go with Edgar Cayce. He's our first topic. We're gonna get into this guy. Pretty cool dude, man. Like he did a lot of cool stuff that I feel
He
like.
had a pretty interesting life, for
Well,
sure.
when people were asking, like, oh, so what's the new episode going? What's the new show? What's the first episode going to be? I was like, oh, it's going to be on Edgar Cayce, and they're like, who? I'm like, how do you not know who this guy is? Like, he's
I'll
a
be
pretty
honest,
famous
when you
dude.
brought it up to me, I completely forgot who he was.
Well,
I'm like,
I mean, I
who?
guess if you're not talking about, profits for, every day, you probably will forget who he is. Who talks about that? Who talks about Nostradamus on a daily basis?
Well,
Somebody, I'm
I
sure.
do.
You do?
I live my life by his prophecies.
Yeah, well, you're also a fucking liar, clearly. Right. I mean, speaking of that, though, I mean, he is kind of considered to be like the 20th century Nostradamus. The dude made a ton of predictions. A bunch of them came true, and
Yeah,
some
that's what I.
haven't kind of come to fruition yet. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like always like immediate future stuff that he did. Like
Yeah, there's a.
Nostradamus, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
At least
the
this
the
guy
only
spoke in
problem I
clear
have with
English.
the only problem I have with prophecies, dude, is like if you put them on a long enough timeline, they're going to happen.
Well, I think it's not just that though. If you put them on a long enough timeline, people can form it to fit any
Whatever
number
they
of
need.
situations.
Yeah,
And I feel like, especially with Nostradamus, that's what they did. Because like the guy wrote in riddles. Yeah,
yeah, it was
he
on
was never
purpose.
like this is gonna happen on this day with this guy doing this thing. It was always like some really like weird phrasing, and you had to like unpack it and then
Well, dude, I mean,
decipher
there's
it and then apply
people
it.
with like Nostradamus who said like he predicted Hitler because one of his things says Hister,
Yeah,
I
but
think
isn't
is
that like
what
a
it said.
river in Germany though?
I'd have no
I'm
idea.
pretty sure that's a river in Germany.
With how often we go to Germany, you'd think we might know a few things about them, but
I only want to know what the amount that we talk about them on the show worth of knowledge. I feel like it's a slippery slope. The longer you look into it, you're like, you know what?
they had some good points,
They
man.
were onto something there, weren't they? Or they were onto something, all right. It just wasn't very good. So, like, if you haven't heard of him, or maybe you have, there's a very good chance, like myself, that you heard of him on old shows, like In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. Like, if you haven't watched In Search of, it's on Amazon. Go watch it. It's pretty awesome. It's like old school 70s, 80s, I mean, kind of like investigative paranormal show, like one of the OG shows for that. And it was great. It was fantastic. Like they just did a great job with what they had at the time, and it's still compelling because it's Leonard Nimoy. He's got one of those voices that you want to listen to.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like
I
it
mean, I
never gets
like the show,
annoying. It
man.
never gets like droll. I mean, it's fun. It's Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shows like that, man. Where it's just like,
Yeah,
you got, yeah, okay. You're saying the same shit people
over
have
and
been
over.
saying for
Yeah.
30 plus years.
Well, that's why I
Like
got out
you
of
came up
shows
with
like
nothing new.
that's kind of why I got out of shows like Ancient Aliens, for instance, because it's
Well,
like the same episode
well, I
9
think isn't
times for a
wasn't Ancient
season.
Aliens only supposed to be like one season long,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty
and
sure.
it like blew up, so they
Yeah,
had to come up with, you know,
and then it goes like it just goes into like
yeah.
nonsense,
Then that one
you
dude
know.
with like the fucking Einstein hair that gets longer and wilder every
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
What the fuck its name
Tassopoulos or
is?
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Giorgio Tassopoulos or whatever. I heard he was a cool guy. A buddy of mine met him at a convention in Myrtle Beach. Said he was an all right dude. I think he said he tried to buy weed off him or something. Okay. It's a cool
It's like, you
story.
kidding me? Like, I'd still be like, all right, well, give
Even
me
if
a
you
little bit,
didn't,
I'll come
like,
back.
even if you didn't, you like it'd be cool to go try to find some. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
100%. Like,
I gave it
no,
to
hold
the dude
on.
from Ancient Aliens
It's like,
because he
yeah.
definitely doesn't look like the type. Yeah, he's not hiding it very well. You know, he's always like, you know, he always looks like he's on something. Yeah, yeah. You don't make that hand gesture without being on something. But like, so his predictions, like he did that. He also invented like a card game called Pit, and apparently it's still used today. I guess you can still like buy the game.
I never heard of it until we started looking into this,
You
dude.
know, I mean, it must be popular enough to keep selling it.
It's probably popular within like the Whole Foods kind of community. You know what I mean? Like the
You
ones who
could
go
buy
get their
it.
chakras massaged.
There's 100% chance you could buy that game at a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. With like 22-inch
Dude,
zucchinis and
oh,
fucking
what's the name of that damn mountain in California that all the crazy people go to? Mount
oh, um, I don't know, but Lake Tahoe.
no. It's
That's
in
a
like
lake. That's not a
California where
mountain.
like all the people who think the ancient masters are talking to them, that they play that game
Like
religiously.
Mount Shasta.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Is that what it was?
I think so. Yeah, they
Pull
love
that out of
that
my
game
ass.
up there.
Yeah, I pulled that out of my ass big time,
I think
bud.
that's what it's called, actually.
Like I've never heard of the game. Never, nor will I ever explore it. Unfortunately, card games. That's more your thing. 'Cause you like Magic.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Good for
I
you,
played Magic Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all of them.
dude. Are you serious? You put. I thought it was
Yeah,
just Magic. I've known you for
no,
my entire life. I thought it was just Magic.
no. I started with Pokemon, got bored of that, moved to Yu-Gi-Oh, and then needed something.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
boy.
a progression. It's a sickness.
Yes. That's a great way of putting it. It is a sickness. You're absolutely right. All right. So where did Casey's story start? Right. So Casey, you know, the kind of the background of the guy, born March 1877. So it's old. Like every
Yeah,
single thing we seem to talk about is old as shit. And he was born in Christian County, Kentucky. If you can imagine the place like
I
being
wonder what
named
their
that in
religion
Kentucky.
was, like their whole
Mormon.
community identity.
Yeah.
Mormon.
Yeah. So like even from an early age, this guy thought, you know, apparently he was God's gift. So as a child, he believed that he was able to see the ghost of his grandfather. And the funny thing is that hey, like he described him as a ghost because it's the best description I've ever heard. He said because if he looked hard enough, he could see through him. If you look hard, if you squint real hard.
Yeah, well,
I feel like I could do that now.
just be like,
Yeah, because my vision's getting worse. If I squint hard enough, everybody kind of becomes transparent because I can't lock onto them. You know what I mean? It's
you
the
ever
best
do
thing
that
ever.
thing where like you stare straight at something long enough and it kind of
Yeah,
just
it kind
like
of like gets distorted.
disappears?
Yeah, yeah, it
That's what he was.
disappears.
That's what he was
So
doing.
stupid.
Just staring at the wall long
If I
enough.
look hard enough, he became see-through. That's great. That's the best thing ever. At the age of 10, he was brought to church for the first time, which seems weird in a place called Christian County, Kentucky, to wait till they're
Yeah.
10 to bring in the church. Seems like something you would do right off the bat. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't like babies at the church. They're loud and obnoxious.
Your kid has to be a certain age before we
Yeah,
even
we
let him
don't.
in.
He's got to. If he's 10, he's probably not that annoying. But if he is annoying, you can kind of control him.
Yeah.
Seems
Especially
like
back then, give him a good pop upside the head.
yeah, that's what
Be
it became
quiet.
legal to strike your child when they hit 10. And he became obsessed though with the biblical scripture stuff, like immediately. Like he was all in. on that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
And
he went like hard.
yeah, he
He
went
read
hard
it
in the
in a
paint.
book, just straight into it.
Yeah. And he reached like 12, and he was in, apparently they had like some sort of like hut in the woods that was on his land or whatever. And he would go and read the Bible there alone, which is very like
That's not like serial
Jeffrey Dahmer
killer kind
ish
of.
stuff. I
Yeah.
think pretty sure he did that, but with dead animals, not the Bible. You know what I mean? He was alone in the woods in a hut.
That
No
never.
story. This is the only story ever that ends well,
Yeah, I'm about
with
to
a
say
story
there's not
beginning that
one
way.
story that's like I was alone in the woods in a hut by my for like days on end. Did you start like hunting hikers down or something?
Yeah.
Like, where's this story going?
He's like a 12-year-old bear man. But while he was in the hut and he was reading the Bible and yada yada yada, he was visited by a woman with wings. He never said the word angel from what I could tell. He just said a woman with wings. But I guess if you're reading the Bible and you put two and two together,
Yeah, it was probably so that you wouldn't be seen. Well,
as
it's
insane,
like no, probably it's like oh, I talked to the divine.
right? But I mean, if you're kind of saying that like they're visiting you and telling you shit, it's kind of what you're hinting at
Yeah,
anyway. I mean,
100% what you're getting
it's
at. You
not a
just
huge leap
well,
to get there.
it's a vague enough. It's vague enough with just the right amount of details,
Yeah,
so the average person can like put whatever faith or anything they got into that.
yeah, you can attach it to
Yeah,
that,
some people are like, oh, he saw ghosts. Other people are like, oh no, that was
right?
definitely an angel.
Right. I mean, like myself, like I follow the Sumerian belief system. I'm the only one, and there's people
You're
with
the
wings
only
all over the
human.
place.
You're the only human left alive.
So there you go. Well, you just got to keep it going. And so the woman with wings showed up. She started chatting with the guy. He said, "Okay, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want, and we'll give it to you." Essentially, and it was actually a very selfless reply that he gave. You know what I mean? You can say, "Oh, give me whatever." You know what I mean? Infinite intellect or whatever. He didn't choose that though. He said that he wanted to help others, especially kids, which I can get on board with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because an adult deal with it. I got issues out the wazoo, brother. Deal with it. You're a grown up. Kids, on the other hand, they don't really have, they don't have that capacity. They need help.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then it was like then decided he'd become like a missionary of sorts, not like quite like that, but in that
Yeah, I don't think he
vein.
ever like
It wasn't
he
like
doesn't go to like other countries and stuff like
no, it
that.
wasn't like Bible thumping missionary. It was more of like a spiritual missionary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it wasn't necessarily spreading like the word of Christ and all that kind of stuff, but it was more of like spiritual journeys and things like that, which is okay. I'm on board. I'm on board with
Yeah,
that
I
too.
mean,
I have
so
no problem
far
with that.
there's not a whole lot that's like going against them outside of the
No,
whole, a woman with wings visited me and
alone in a hut when you're
yeah,
12,
yeah.
puberty just kicked in. Yeah, there's a whole lot happening in that hut,
Yeah.
bud. I mean, there's a
Don't
whole lot
forget your
happening.
invisible grandfather's with you too. So
Oh God, yeah. Well, he's speaking through you through the force. He shows up.
yeah, fucking Ben style.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like hanging with you in the woods, reading the Bible. Awesome. So weird.
But yeah, he had a few interactions with the woman with wings too.
Okay.
It wasn't like a
Right.
one-time kind of thing.
That's right.
But essentially, she told him one time that when he went to sleep, quote unquote, like they could help him.
Yeah, that's not
So
ominous at all.
yeah,
They, also known as them.
that's like we are Legion.
Yeah, that's a little scary. Yeah, for a
But
12-year-old in the woods.
yeah, I think that's kind of where the whole sleeping prophet thing started.
Right.
Yeah, this is where it really started up for him.
Right.
Because not too long after he talked to the woman in wings, he got in trouble at school. I forget for what. It was like bad grades or he wasn't paying attention or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But his dad gets home and, smacks the shit out of him, for getting in school, which is essentially what he does.
Right.
He hits him and he like falls out of his chair.
Right. Then he's visited by visions.
Well,
Maybe
then,
some sort
like
of brain trauma.
Casey, yeah,
I'm
is it
starting to
Casey or
think Edgar
Case?
Cayce had
Casey,
CTE.
right?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm starting to think
Yeah.
happened. Like,
Well, essentially, he falls asleep on one of his books, right? So this in the
mhm.
first account of this happening, it was essentially a spelling book for him.
Right. Okay.
When Casey's father comes back into his room, it's been a little while.
Right.
Took a nap essentially. He was able to recite the book back to his father, so he got none of the questions wrong
Hmm.
about spelling.
I'm a little
Essentially,
I'm a little skeptical that his dad knew the answers.
well, I'm sure he was
It was more
looking
just
at
like
it,
a, yep, nailed it. Good job, pal. He didn't know how to spell. It
I
was
don't know
nice.
if there's
It
necessarily
was
an R in book, but I can't say for sure
dude, it
certain.
was like 1890 something in Kentucky. I'm sure, and I don't know this. I am just making this up completely, but I'm sure illiteracy was rampant in that area. I'm just saying. I haven't done like the research. I haven't read any polls, but I'm pretty sure.
But basically, he's saying that he's learning through osmosis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right there. That's when I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I fell asleep on tons of books in school and never got smarter.
no, not once.
Mm-mm.
Pretty sure I got dumber. I wasn't paying
Yeah, I still
attention.
can't really spell very well.
But this is that time frame right there is when Casey starts saying, "This is how I've been. I never had to study. I never had to do anything because I
Right.
just slept on my books and I learned everything."
Right.
And by 1892, he became, according to him, the best student in the class.
Was that when Columbus sailed the ocean blue?
14.
1892.
Yeah. Our country's only like 120 years old.
I don't know. I know he wasn't the great guy.
No,
We have a holiday after.
no, you're about 400 years
Oh,
off on that one.
yeah. Well, that's because I didn't fall asleep in
1490.
them history books.
Yeah, you should. If you did, you would have known that.
I would have known that.
But of course, a lot of this that we've talked about already
Mhm.
is coming from his autobiography, so it should
Right.
be taken with at least a little bit of
Skepticism, you mean?
There you go.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
a
not the
lot.
only
You
one
know
I
what I
didn't
mean?
fall asleep
A
on
grain of
books.
salt, if you will.
Right. I mean, you can say anything in an autobiography.
Yeah.
Anything. Literally anything.
And the only source is you. So who's going to say you're wrong?
Yeah.
Especially back then, it's not like you could look up their
right.
Facebook profile to see them from 10 years ago, that kind of thing.
It's
You
like,
had to take
I can rate my own and say, oh, I remember one time I got so high in high school, I walked on water.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah.
And then you put it in a book. Like, nobody knows. Nobody
Yeah,
knows anything.
And odds are, even like by the time most of the people forgot who you were.
Yeah.
Because fucking steam popping up on my computer there. Sorry about that.
Fucking nerd.
But yeah, like especially back then, if you moved even a few towns over, you probably never saw anybody you knew.
No, you're anonymous at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you could make up whatever story you wanted to, and you didn't even have to leave the state.
Right.
But going forward, a few years will be 1900.
Okay.
Now this is the time frame where he starts gaining powers, essentially.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Because
beyond
1900
osmosis learning or sleeping.
Yeah. He was
sleep
hit
learning.
by a pretty severe case of laryngitis, which completely took his ability.
What is laryngitis?
It's something to do with your like voice box area, I think.
Oh. All right.
Of course, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I'll sleep on a medical book later, and
yeah, let me know how.
We'll do a fact check episode.
All right, but Casey, like especially after he lost his voice, he went to a bunch of doctors, said they couldn't help him.
Mm-hmm.
He went, he spent a good long while trying to get like professional medical help.
Right.
And after that, he got I forget who suggested it to him, but he went to a hypnotherapist.
Right.
And the hypnotherapist was able to get him to start talking. But the moment he came out of it, he lost his ability to speak again.
I didn't read that.
Yeah.
He did not. Okay.
So, and he actually tried a lot of hypnotherapists.
Mm-hmm.
He tried a bunch of them before he, one of them essentially said, "Hey, man, you're stopping yourself from getting into stage 3 hypnotism or whatever." She's
Stage
like,
3.
yeah,
Is that
apparently.
incurable hypnotherapy? Is
No, I think
that what
that
that is?
means that, like, I think that's where oh, you want to stop smoking? You get so deep into it
All right.
that, like, when you wake up, it sticks with you.
Got it.
So he's like, oh, hey, stage 2, you take over. So essentially self-hypnotized himself after a
Oh,
certain
okay.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And this is where all of a sudden he's able to regain his voice because he commands himself to be able to talk again.
So, like in Kill Bill, where she commands herself to come out of atrophy.
Sure.
Wiggle your big toe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wiggle
Okay.
your in the pussy wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wiggle the big toe. Big toe. But yeah, like, so he goes through all this, ends up, you know, essentially healing himself of his
Cool.
lost voice.
That's pretty cool, though.
Just one of the, I mean, if it's true, it's an amazing feat that he
It is. It
performed on
really is.
himself. I mean,
I
that's
honestly,
that
I do.
alone.
I like, all kidding aside, like Cayce is a cool dude. The stuff that he did, like, we're kind of poking fun at him, but he is kind of a cool guy.
Oh no,
But
it's
like,
not like
if
he
you,
did
but
anything wrong either. You know?
I do think people like have the ability to do stuff like that. Like, if you have a strong enough will and your concentration's high enough, and you can kind of like tap into that, you can kind of like self heal yourself in
Well, I
certain
mean, dude,
ways.
like look at
Maybe not
even
from like horrible diseases and stuff, that are ravaging your body, but certain things I think you can
yeah.
definitely overcome just by
I mean,
mind.
you could just go back to that whole like with the mom lifting a car off
Yeah,
her
exactly. Yeah,
child thing.
that's a
Like
good
the
example.
human
Yeah,
body is pretty
it's
amazing in
amazing.
that
It
sense.
is amazing, man.
So yeah, I mean, because I don't think when I was reading about him and looking into him, I didn't see anything where it was like, oh, he was touching little kids or he was anything like that. So he was never a bad person, as far as
No,
I'm aware,
no,
unless I missed that part. So
no. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure you didn't, bud.
okay, yeah, I was just saying, like, we are making fun of him a little bit, but it's not like he was a bad dude either.
No, he wasn't a bad dude.
But in 1920, he added Cayce would add to his like essentially his repertoire,
Right.
again, faith healing. Now this is where you lose a lot of credibility with me because I don't believe in that.
Faith healing.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the same thing though. Like, if you believe it hard enough, it's kind of like they have a story about, like, if somebody is feels like they're possessed by a demon, like legit, like they really feel like they're possessed by demons. That, and just the idea, like that process of doing an exorcism, even though it might be a mental illness, you know what I mean? That the belief is so strong in it that it actually cures
yeah,
them.
like it like breaks whatever hold
Mm-hmm.
it had on them.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why the church won't. Um, churches don't like to do exorcisms now.
Well, because they've figured out mental illness is a real thing.
Yeah. Well, no, they still believe in like demonic possession and all that,
Right, but they
but
don't believe it's every case.
they don't want to. They don't want to appear like
Not
archaic.
right.
So they make you go to a psychiatrist and all. There's like
And
a
that's what
bunch
they
of
should
red
do, because
tape.
that's the, like, if you ever seen like a real life exorcism, not like the just the ones in the movies, where they're throwing
Yeah.
slapping you with holy water and all that. Like, it's a pretty brutal, like,
Yeah.
traumatic thing that people go through, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
not to be
Because
taken lightly. It could really damage you, like, if you're not actually possessed by a demon, I suppose.
yeah. Well, and they even had cases where like people wanted an exorcism done to them, but they didn't have a reason.
Right.
So they were like trying to do all the things that like the stereotypical demonic possession would be
Right.
for kicks, I imagine.
I
On that.
guess.
Well, like
I
it
guess.
was
I
some
guess
sort
that's
of
what it
like
is.
thing they wanted done to him.
Right.
But do each his own on guess on faith healing on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But he did start using like a combination of homeopathic medicine, which just in case anyone doesn't really know what that is by now.
Right.
It's an alternative approach to medicine. It's based on the belief that like, natural substances,
Mm-hmm.
plants things like that.
Right, herbs and all that. Yeah.
Herbs, yeah, and like
Crystals
certain
and shit.
stones and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They're prepared in a special way and used most often in like very small amounts can
Right.
restore health.
Like in Zelda.
Yeah. With the fucking leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
Video game references coming in on
That's what it is. That's what they do.
Yeah.
You get all the herbs and then you put them together and they restore small amounts of health.
I was just playing a game where you eat berries to regain health.
You
So.
know what I'm saying? Like it's holistic medicine.
And he was also doing like spiritual readings.
Right.
And allegedly, he was even able to cure people from a distance. So like miles away.
Yeah. Kind of like the phone psychics.
Yeah.
They can do a reading over the phone.
Those are.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Come on.
I always wanted to like call one of them and be like, "What am I wearing right now?" Let's start with that, Mr. Psychic. If you can accurately describe what color.
What if the psychic came back and said, "Well, let's talk about what I'm not wearing."
I'll probably hang up the phone call back. And be like,
I do all my psychic readings in the nude, sir.
Yeah.
Can we just move on? It's not really what my power is.
No.
You idiot. It's not what I do. I tell the future, not the present. That's kind of what it is, isn't it? When you call them places, they tell you what the future is.
Yeah, but
it's all bullshit.
I don't believe in. Yeah, I don't believe in that.
I mean,
Plus,
the
telephone ones have been
I do
proven to be bullshit.
Yeah,
too,
like
so
Miss Cleo and all that shit.
Yeah,
yeah. But I do think people have like latent abilities like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a cool, like a good. Well, I don't know if it's a good example, but it's an example. Like on that Stan Lee Superhumans show, you ever watch that?
Yeah,
dude, that guy that had like telekinesis. And they put, dude, it was crazy. Like the guy was like legit moving stuff with his mind, dude. It was nuts.
And I didn't see that one. I saw the one where like
they're like, oh, you're full of shit, buddy. And then they went to like some doctor. You know what I mean? They put like these diode, like that diode net thing on your head, or it might have just been the sticky things. I don't remember that well. But he had like I don't know, like a ruler or something on like a cup, and he like made the thing fall into the cup with his mind, and it like recorded what his brain did. And it said like the guy was like blown away, like the scientist, whatever. He's like, dude, like when that happened, like at that same time, like the frontal lobe of his brain is like the same symptoms that he sees when people have seizures. You know what I mean? He's like, so there was like intense brain activity at that exact moment that happened. He's like, so I don't know how to explain what I just saw.
Yeah, see, I saw the ones where it's like the dude who was magnetic, and I saw the one where, he was able to like hold metal onto his skin.
Oh, white trash, Magneto.
Yeah, and then I saw the one with have you ever seen that dude, like the ice guy?
Mm-mm.
He's able, dude, like
is that the guy that
doesn't affect him?
Oh, okay.
Like he was able, everybody he could do this. Like he trained to actively turn on like his body's internal temperature, like thermostat.
I did see another one though where a guy never got tired.
Yeah, that's actually like super dangerous.
Well, no, like he was sleeping stuff. Like that's not what I mean by that. But like what I mean is that like when he would do like physical activity and stuff.
Oh,
like they did that thing where he like swam for like 3 hours straight. And he wasn't like a super fit guy, but he has like some rare condition where like he doesn't build up lactic acid in his muscles and joints. So he's like he never gets fatigued ever.
That would be pretty fucking cool.
Like he's like incapable of becoming tired, like physically tired. That's insane.
Dude, that'd actually be like pretty dope to have.
Yeah, dude, that's like a legit superpower. I mean, it's not a very useful one, but it's a superpower.
Yeah, but it's like
that's not normal.
You just go to the gym and just
dude, you can work out for 24 hours straight and never get tired ever. But then again, I don't know if you're ever like, I don't know how the muscle reacts to that, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can do whatever you wanted to, and it just would not bother you.
Well, there is a story too of like, so like I do think like people have ability like psychic, like the guys we just talked about, and then there's like some like rare genetic disease too people get. I think like 1 in like 1 billion people have it.
Yeah,
where it's like your muscle tissue is like 3 times more dense, like your bones are like 3 times more dense, like your metabolism is like 4 times higher than a regular person's. So it's like you're like perpetually like shredded all the time. You're literally like twice as strong as a regular person. Like, I think like the only downfall is that like it like your because your bones are so thick that it stunts your growth. You only go to like 4'5'4" or 5'5". But
Still,
Wolverine was that size,
yeah,
and
and
that's kind of what he
absolutely
was.
fucked everybody up.
That's kind of what his whole gig was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was being short and strong. That's kind of what that was his whole
Oh
shtick.
yeah, that's his whole thing.
Oh, like, oh, I can't remember nothing.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah. So kind of getting back to like the healings that he was doing,
Yeah.
he had gained a ton of popularity for these, and then eventually he would like start asking folks for like donations, so he can essentially like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, devote himself to doing that full time. You know, because that was kind of what he was mentioning, like when that angel or the lady with wings showed up, that he wanted to help people and heal them and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what he did. He was like, "Hey, give me some money. I'll do this on the rig." You know what I mean? Where I'll help people out, apparently from distances or up close or whatever. I guess no matter where you are, I'll do it.
Wherever you want me to be.
He's there. He's
When I'm
everywhere.
healing you, I'll be
He's
there.
everywhere and nowhere. And his readings at the time, like they kind of were all centered around that, like the healing aspect that he was trying to do. That was kind of his thing at that point. He's like, no, this is kind of like all I'm gonna do. I only want to worry about helping people, which is good. I mean, it's definitely a
Yeah.
good thing. He could have been using it for personal gain. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's always like that monkey's paw thing where like you can see the future, just not your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
help. You can't like use it to exploit and or do anything that's gonna like help you benefit specifically. That kind of thing.
Well, I mean, dude, just think about how easy it would have been for him to turn into like just a crooked like faith healer, essentially.
Yeah, like the snake oil salesman.
Yeah, yeah, Cinco, that's what it was.
Right. But he's definitely not trying to be that.
Yeah.
Like at no point like in the research for this guy did I ever get the impression that he was trying to con people. Like never. I definitely did not think that. But yeah, I guess you never really know a person's intentions, you know what I mean? But it doesn't come off that way at all. And he would use methods like diet, you're like getting massages and stuff, ultraviolet light, which isn't that just the sun?
Yeah. I mean, you could have just walked outside and
Yeah, you just stand
sunbathed.
outside and look at the sun. That's not good for your eyes, but apparently it's good for your soul. Yeah, or is that an eclipse? I can't remember.
No, it's yeah,
Can't
you
look at
don't
the
want to stare
sun.
at the sun.
Yeah, electrotherapy, which I don't know if they do anymore. I might be thinking of electroshock therapy, is what I'm thinking of. They definitely don't do that anymore.
No.
He's insane. Electrocute him. Yeah. Electrocute
Which
the
really
demons out of
fry
him.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
see what happens.
Let's just annihilate every one of his receptors. That'll fix him. That's on par with like a fucking what are they?
Lobotomy.
Yeah, where they shove an ice pick through your eyeball.
Yep. Lobotomy. Just sit up there, they put it up there and they just swirl it around.
That's so insane. That's so insane. It wasn't even that long ago that they were still doing that.
No, because they thought it was
Like
like a legitimate thing.
in the timeline of history, it wasn't that long ago. Like
No.
what, 50, 60 years?
Something like that. Yeah, it was like the early
Yeah.
1900s.
That's
So
nuts. That is super nuts, man. Stick a fucking rod through his brain, help him out.
yeah.
So weird. People are stupid.
This will
Dude.
do it. Just fucking whip it.
And I guess like what he was trying to do was like he was focusing less on like mental therapy, like traditional therapy,
Yeah.
talk therapy, hypnotherapy, that kind of stuff, and more on like relaxation, like chill out, man.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Slow your
bro.
roll.
Yeah, yeah. It was him and like Matthew McConaughey started started this whole thing. Like, relax, dude.
Yeah, man.
It just that reminds me of like, did you ever see
man.
he did like an interview with Zach Galifianakis, and he's talking to Matthew McConaughey. He's like, when you did a movie with Woody Harrelson, were you guys ever worried that somewhere there's a hacky not being sacked? Let's die and do this. Great. What a good, it's the best interviewer ever. It's so funny. And like it was also during that time that like Casey's practices were noticed by the American Medical Association, right? Because you're not going to be able to do this stuff publicly, like freelance almost, without the government wanting to get their beaks wet and get involved in it in some way.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
I mean,
it's an
it's
inevitability.
never a good it's never a good thing when the government starts noticing you,
Yeah, and
like
they
you
definitely
in
started asking
particular.
questions. Yeah, and they were asking questions
Yeah.
like, "What exactly are you doing?" You know what I mean? Are you? And I honestly think some of it because like
Well,
I don't
gone
think
is the days even back then where you can get away with being a snake oil,
yeah it was yeah
yes, seller. I mean, they
yeah
still took it
it was in
fairly.
the 20s, man.
Yeah, like you couldn't
Yeah,
just do that shit without some sort of a medical license.
correct. But even back then though, I think they were trying to be like, "Yo, like, is this legit? Are you scamming people?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what exactly are you up to?" And it was then too that he's like, okay, it's time for me, the right decision here to legitimize what he was doing. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, like I get it. I mean, he didn't really put up a fight or anything like that. He's like, no, I totally understand.
Yeah, I need to
Like,
get this done before somebody.
yeah, before I get into trouble and I can't do it anymore. I
Yeah,
think that's really what it is. It was like he was afraid that they were going to shut him down. Like, you're not allowed to do this shit anymore. Like, oh, you're going to go to jail or whatever the threat might have been. You know what I mean? I would imagine it probably would have been fines followed by jail if you didn't stop. And it was then like he wanted to form a hospital. He did that actually with like the
it's
help of
still
like
around.
actual licensed medical practitioners, right, to satisfy the association. He's like, okay, I get it. I got folks that are gonna help me out. They're legit people. We're gonna get this taken care of. And while in a trance, actually in 1925, he was again visited by the voice. When he sleeps, they're gonna help him out. And they're like, "Hey, man, you need to move. You need to get Oceanside, buddy. You got to go to Virginia Beach in Virginia, of all places. In case you didn't know where Virginia Beach was." It's like saying,
I could have
"Where's New York
swore it was
City?
in Wyoming.
What state is New York City in?"
Uh, Texas, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
And he actually did do that. And then he started the Casey Hospital for Research and Enlightenment. And it officially opened its doors in 1929 because you got to you got to build the building and to get the funds up. It takes time to
Yeah,
do. You know
yeah.
what I
I
mean? But
mean,
he
time.
was doing it the right way. He did it the right way.
Oh, for
He did it
sure.
legit. And it opened with 30 beds. So it wasn't like a hospital, but I guess legally
It's a
it was
it's a
considered a
hospital.
hospital. You know what I mean? Like he got the paperwork that says, yeah, this is a hospital. And unfortunately though, like almost not immediately after, but pretty close to it, the place was lost because of the Great Depression hit. And everybody lost everything during that
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah, he was no exception to that rule. But like a turn, I don't know, like a turn for the better for these guys is that the building was repurchased by it's called the ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment. So it was Casey's group, but I think minus Casey at this time because I think it was 1969 that they rebought it, like the same
I didn't
building.
see the yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't see what time frame or
yeah,
anything.
it was I think it was late 60s that they bought it again and then they reopened it. And that's actually what it is now. So it was that group, the ARE, was founded by Casey and his followers. You know what I mean? He's not a cult leader. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I don't want to give that impression. Like
Well,
the people that supported what he
followers is
did,
probably I'd call them supporters, not
supporters.
followers.
That's a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a better word for sure. And now it's called the ARE Health Center and Spa. So
So, yeah, that's where you go get your
massage,
chakras aligned.
yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's holistic healing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it's still open today. Like I
Yeah,
went
they
to their
got their own
website. You can go
website.
and
Yeah.
buy. Yeah, you can go buy like gift certificates for people to go there.
Yeah, dude, they have a whole section on their website just dedicated to like his prophecies and
Yep.
stuff like that and what and like who he
Oh
was
yeah,
and what he did and all that.
they still use his prophecies and teachings as inspiration now for healing people. Freaking a
I mean, to
hundred
be
years
fair, dude,
later.
a lot of his prophecies weren't even like out there either.
No, they weren't. They were some of them were, but
Yeah,
some
I
of them
mean,
were
that's
pretty
why I said a
reasonable
lot of them.
too. Yeah, I mean some of them were
There's a
pretty
few that
reasonable.
were, yeah,
Well, I mean, I think they were all based in some sort of reality. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And they weren't really it's like with any like prophet, like you know what I mean. You gotta like it's open to some version of interpretation that it's not like
Oh,
they never
because
just
a
give you like a solid
prophecy.
date and time and all that kind of stuff. Which I don't know if you even if like let's just say that power is real. I
Mhm.
don't know if it works that way. Where they can say at this time and this day here that this is what's going to happen.
Well, there has definitely been people who say that's
Yeah, but those people also, when that date comes, they're like, "Oh, I
Oh,
like
sorry,
miscalculated. It's 10 years from now on a different day."
Nibiru gave me the wrong
Yeah, it's like the entire
the wrong
planet gave me the
mathematic equation.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're late. They're
Yeah,
running
yeah.
late.
That's it's actually another 20 years from
You know
now.
how planets are, dude.
Yeah, yeah. They
They're
don't
highly unreliable.
yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Okay, man. Like, okay.
Well, I mean, I do when it comes to predictions, there's plenty of predictions that if you apply them in a certain light, they work for a lot of the things that happen throughout history.
I don't disagree with that.
Because you could just take it like, and especially with how a lot of people do it, like they cherry pick certain verses out of a or lines
Yeah,
to apply it to one situation.
right.
So yeah,
Nostradamus is
there's
that's the most infamous version of
oh
that.
yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't buy any of that shit with him. It's like, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you know, he didn't really have the vocabulary, and in his defense, he probably didn't how to describe it if he was seeing what he was seeing.
Well,
Casey, on the
plus
other
you
hand,
got
was more recent. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Well, plus like in Nostradamus's case, it was essentially a whole different language. Like
yeah.
that's how language is. He's not going to be like,
Well, I don't
oh
think he even
yeah,
spoke English. So it was in like Italian or something.
yeah. Well, then even then, like even older, the shit evolves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like someone from the fucking 1700s wouldn't have a good time. They're speaking English, but what
Yeah.
kind of English?
Yeah. They're not
You
gonna be able
you'd
to
be able to catch
describe like
most of what they're saying,
they're not gonna be able to
but
describe like a tank very
yeah.
well, or like a
Well, like
spaceship.
but
Yeah,
then words have different meanings back. It's
that's
this
true.
whole thing,
Yep,
whole
it's
thing
true.
with it.
Yep, I agree.
But like, I think it's about time we get into like Casey's predictions. I think that's what a lot of
Yes,
people want to hear about.
yeah. I think we're tired of
For
hearing
sure.
about him personally.
Now, like, with any kind of prediction, there's like we've been saying, there's a lot of interpretation
Yep.
involved. For instance,
Yes.
in 1925, Casey was doing a reading for a young 26-year-old and
Okay.
told him that he would soon come into a great sum of money, but
That's a good
advised
one.
him. Yeah, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, dude, come on.
Are you kidding me?
I take a slice of that
Isn't the Powerball like
right
six
about now.
million, $600 million right now? Like,
Yeah,
please tell me that.
dude. If I had $600, I'd be like, he was right.
Yes.
To me, this is a great sum of money.
That's a fortune for me right now. You kidding me? But he advised him to be careful due to adverse forces that will come in 1929. So he gave him
So
a
a
pretty
couple
good,
4 years, like get your shit in order. Yeah, he had plenty of time.
yeah.
You
Like plus
warned
he
him,
gave him a time frame too, which is
right?
something you don't really see a whole lot.
Right.
But that
And
was
he kind of put himself out there on a limb too by giving him a year.
yeah, because if it turned out to be nothing,
Right. This guy's full of shit.
now you just lost all credibility.
Right. Yeah.
Well, luckily for him, and I guess unluckily for everybody else, that was the year the stock market crashed.
Yep.
So his prediction was right, but the world went to hell.
Right. That was the start of the Great Depression, I think, was that right then.
Yeah, the stock market
Yep.
crashed and then the
Yep.
whole thing. Yeah. But later in
Which is when
1935,
he lost his building.
oh yeah, yep, you're right. But in 1935, like one of Casey's like largest predictions,
Yeah.
he was asked about global affairs. And he described now when he's doing this, he is like in a trance too.
Right. Yeah. He's not just like
Does like he's
staring
not
right
like
at you.
wide ass awake.
Right.
Yeah.
He's very sleepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he described an entire world of war.
Right.
So to paraphrase, Casey stated that tensions and actions of nations would cause sides to be taken,
Right.
especially that of the Austrians, the Germans, and later the Japanese. So he hit it pretty
He
well on
nailed
the
it.
head.
He conveniently left out the Italians. But okay.
Yeah.
They get off the hook
Yeah,
for
but he
everything.
got, two of the big hitters during,
Yeah.
and then like gradually growing in their influence.
Right. Which they
Because of
definitely
course,
did
yeah, they
by
got
force. Yeah, I mean, they
yeah,
definitely did grow their influence.
they went pretty hard on that part,
Yeah,
that last part. But yeah, of course, this was the prediction for World War II.
that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, but that, yeah, I mean, and then
But
again,
the
you will have people saying, well, the First World War just happened,
yeah, but that already
just finished.
had happened by the time he
Yeah, so
predicted it.
you could kind
The
of
second one, anyways.
see, Japan's
Right.
motivations during the First World War and all.
Were they even involved in the First World War?
I believe so. Yes, I think
You
they
know, it's
mainly
funny.
just
Like
kicked
we
China's
had two
ass.
world wars, and know almost nothing about World War One because everybody focuses on World War Two because of the Nazis, because they're the
Well,
ultimate
that
bad guy.
and World War II was way more deadly.
Well, the Nazis
World War One was like
are way bigger
they still
enemy.
would fucking follow horses
They're
and
they're
shit.
the ultimate villain, dude.
Yeah,
That's why. You know what I mean? They're a more compelling. They did horrible things too.
I'm
On
pretty
top of
sure
it.
in both World Wars, I think Japan just kicked the shit out of China.
Well, I mean, in World
Like that
War
was their
Two, there
main
was
focus.
a lot larger atrocities. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
not just on the German side, but Americans
Well,
did it too, dropping
a
the
lot of
fucking.
different ways of killing people faster were created during that
Well, we
time
dropped
frame.
Fat Man and Little Boy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
If you just talk about the Axis,
yeah,
they decided, they found out plenty of different ways to kill people.
yeah. It's like I mean, it's like the
Quickly
Germans
too.
killed like 20 million in 10 years, and we killed like 300,000 in like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
like
however long it took for the bomb to like fall out of the plane.
instantaneously,
Yeah,
pretty
like
much. As soon as it went
vaporize
off,
people.
it destroyed entire fucking.
Yeah, irradiate people. You know what I mean? And then like, you know what? We're gonna do it again, like part two, like a day or
Yeah,
two later, and then they just did it again. Like, do you know how devastating that is, man? For like decades afterwards.
yeah,
Awful, man.
yeah. But he actually predicted too that parts of Japan would be rocked with natural disasters,
Yeah,
including earthquakes and tsunamis. But then again, they
that's
kind
island
of
life, man.
that's always happening to them.
That's true.
Earthquakes, I think, are pretty common, and then tsunamis aren't very common. But tsunami, I think, it literally is a Japanese word.
It sounds Japanese, like if you say it, like if you're
Yeah,
Japanese.
I'm pretty sure it actually is.
Yeah.
But
Well, I guess any word sounds Japanese if you say it
if you
like you're
say it,
Japanese.
yeah, if
Yeah,
you say
that's
it
true
like
too.
you,
Yeah.
and these predictions, were obviously proven to be accurate
Yep.
because they actually came about. And as Japan, experienced several major earthquakes and a devastating tsunami in 2011.
Was that the same year that those happened? I wonder if that's what he meant. Like in the same year.
Oh, I don't know if he meant
I'll
that
have to
or if
look
he
into
just
that.
kind of meant like
Yeah.
they were just getting hit over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, I know earthquakes are pretty common, but you
Yeah.
need a pretty decent sized earthquake to
Well,
create
I mean, it's an island, so like you're probably close to fault. Yeah, not fault lines.
they're
Tectonic plates and all that.
Yeah, I think they're right around what the hell is that? Well, the volcano lines.
Ring of fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty sure they're in that area.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that where
These,
the Dragon Triangle is too? Is that way?
yeah,
There's like
I
the
believe
Bermuda
so.
Triangle, and then there's the Dragon Triangle.
Yeah,
And,
it's like the
yeah.
Asian side. Well, that's what it is. It's like you have then I think it's almost like the exact opposite of
Yeah,
each
it
other.
is. Yeah, it is.
But these, of course, those were just a couple of his predictions that ended up coming true.
Right.
There's still
He
many.
had a lot, dude.
Yeah, he's had some pretty good success.
Dude, we can do an entire show of just reading his
Yeah,
his predictions.
because
He's made
even
a
with
lot of
these
them.
predictions, dude, like they're essentially all of them are paraphrased
Right.
because he just goes on about them.
Right.
But yeah, you kind of take the highlights.
Right. I mean, he nailed a bunch of them.
Yeah,
He did nail a bunch of them.
he has a bunch that haven't come true yet.
Well, yeah.
There's a couple on there too that I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Well, we're about to get into one that there is some new information about.
Oh, really?
There is, yeah.
Bounce on that. Okay.
Yep.
But he has a lot that haven't been realized yet. For instance, like Cayce predicted advancements in archaeological methods
Right.
to essentially discover long lost civilizations, including the lost city and the culture of Atlantis.
So that's the one, actually.
Yeah,
So like they
It's in the
did.
Sahara or something like that, right? Or
Yeah, so like they've been
Mojave.
coming, like it's a lot of it has to do with like what Graham Hancock and oh my God, what's the other guy's name? It's a buddy of his. Um Randall Carlson. Like so
Yeah, I
they're
wouldn't
like
have been
big
able to help you
components
with
of
that.
this thing called the Younger Dryas theory. So they think between 11, I think it's 11, I'm going to get the numbers wrong. It's like 12,500 and 11,600 years ago that the Earth was like pummeled by like comets and asteroids and stuff like that. Not like world enders, but close. You know what I mean? Where like it like just annihilated everything. You know what I mean? Where like tons of civilization was just literally wiped off the face of the Earth due to like they think that like large amounts of them hit the polar caps and like
Yeah.
flash melted a ton of it. And like you
Well, I
can
would.
see parts of that in like northern North America, like in the Minnesota, Montana, that kind of area, where it's just like all of a sudden it was just like fine, like huge swaths of land just like wiped like completely flat, like at the same time, like biblical style flood, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, kind of stuff. And that like in the Sahara, it used to be like
They found
green and
rings,
fertile.
right? Like the three rings
Yeah, they
of the
yeah,
land,
for
of
sure.
like quote
Satellite
unquote
footage. Yeah, they
Atlantis.
got satellite images of what looks like the way that like Plato described what
Yeah,
Atlantis looked
with
like with
the
three rings
three
and
rings of
water.
water, three rings of land, or something like that,
Right.
or
Yeah,
two rings of land, or something. I can't
that's a
remember
solid
how.
defense in those times. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
you had to
because
come
yeah,
by
you get
land or
by, you
air.
get through
Not you
the.
don't do air attack. You know. Yeah. So,
No, not yet. But like you have to ride your boats across one essentially giant ass moat,
right. Get
make an
off.
entire ring,
Yeah.
then have to rebuild boats to get to the next ring,
Yeah. Solid.
take the whole ring, and the
Hmm.
entire time you got a
Fight off.
civilization who built their whole
Right.
capital around defending it like
Well,
that.
not only that, but then recently they found in Turkey. Oh my God, dude, these names are tough. They're tough to remember. They're just not tough to say. They're tough to I'll think of the name. But it was a one that they found to be like 12,000 years old, which according to like ancient, like historical record and archaeology, you know what I mean, that was impossible. Like they couldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Like it never
Oh
existed.
yeah,
We were just
okay.
hunter gatherers at that time, and they absolutely shattered that. They're like, absolutely not. This is like 6,000 years older than the earliest civilization we thought. You know what I mean? Like that built cities and did megalithic structure and stuff like that. They found it well before then. And it's not just that. Like they're finding ones in America. They're finding them.
Yeah, I mean, plus history's always being like essentially rewritten every time we find something new.
Right.
So it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that something like that happened.
Yeah.
Because every civilization in the world, ancient civilization, has a story of a great flood.
Right. It was called Göbekli Tempe. That was the name of the place they found in Turkey.
That's a fucking weird
That's
ass
why I'm
name.
saying
Go
it's
Gleply,
super
Templey.
super hard to find it. So this like so what it says here is that they think it was made between 9,500 and 8,000 BC. So 10,000 years to 11 almost 12,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's a
That's a
pretty.
long time, dude. Like that's a super super long time.
That's way before like we ever thought civilization. Cause was it like Sumeria was only like what, like 2000
Six
BC, something like
six
that.
thousand 7,000
Yeah, so
years
I mean, you
ago.
talk about 2 to 4,000 more years
Right.
ahead of where we initially thought.
It says it predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years.
That's
6,000.
yeah, that's a pretty big fucking
Like
leap, dude.
sit back and think about how long 6,000 years is in human terms. In terms
Yeah,
of the universe, it's nothing. But
it's a blink of the eye.
right, but in human years, that's a really, really, really long time. But the thing of it is that like that time frame, like when it was built, comparative to like when it was just it looked apparently I think if I'm remembering right, that it was just abandoned. And that was around 11,400 to 12,000 years ago, which would have been around that time of that impact. And it wasn't just one impact; it was like shooting gallery. We were getting like pummeled.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think there's a, like asteroid, I don't know what there's like a belt, but it's like a traveling one that we go through every couple of, every 10 or 12 years. Like the Earth's in the in the fucking thing of it, like right dead center of it. And like they think that's what happened in is that Tunguska? They think that's what happened there too. That
Oh,
we
we
went through
went through
that
there,
asteroid
but
belt.
the
Yeah.
planet was just unlucky enough to be in range of a bunch of them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
But
that's what they're
dude, like
thinking.
here's actually even a couple more of what he's been predicted. They haven't come. One of them that he put on. One of them was extended human lifespan,
Right.
which is true in a sense because average life expectancy
Right.
goes up every X amount of years. Yeah, it used to be like 60 was pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it was like fucking 30, and you were so now like people are starting to live longer.
Right.
But I don't believe that's what he was saying. He was probably like, "Oh, we're going from living to like the average of 80 to like fucking 200."
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so he had a couple more of those like self-fueling perpetual motion machines, which, if I'm not mistaken, scientists do believe that it's
It's possible.
scientifically impossible. I think at the moment
I don't think that it is. Because like if you think about it, like they had with
it
what's his
goes
name?
against like the laws of thermodynamics or some shit.
Well, like I don't know. I think there's something to that because like they have like dudes that like they like the government and stuff, especially like to get to my conspiracy theory hat on for a second. Like they confiscate shit like that. You know what I mean? They hide it forever. Like they did it with Tesla stuff where he had like a million patents and they're like, nope, and they just took all of it when he died.
Oh yeah,
You
when
know what
they
I mean? Like
died,
the free
like
energy and all that kind of
the
stuff.
stereotypical like Men in Black essentially showed
Yeah.
up
Where you can
and
like literally
pour
pull
through his
power out of
entire
the
room.
ether, dude. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
that's exactly what the universe and everything around us is. It's just energy. He's like, you can tap into that and just power shit indefinitely. It's like it's a never ending source. As long as the planet and the universe exists, so does this.
yeah,
And then they had like dudes that would like they build motors that ran on water. Like you could power your
yeah.
car with
He
water.
mysteriously
He
died not
yep,
too long after he
yep.
finished that.
As soon as that news story hit,
As
he
soon as
died like a
he,
year later. Or not even
yes,
I don't even think it was a
then it was like
year.
the plans for it disappeared
They disappeared too.
mysteriously too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There was
Well,
another story
here's
too of a guy that built like a perpetual motion machine, and he was like at some like science fair showing it off, and I guess he like you leave the stuff there, because it's probably a couple day thing, and he went back and somebody like smashed it to pieces, and then like he died, and then like his plans were like
yeah,
destroyed too.
a lot that
That's
happens quite a
pretty,
bit.
yeah, that's super coincidental.
But dude, here's actually like a couple more of his that haven't come true yet, right?
Right,
So he has things like religious freedom in China for China and its people.
right,
But he does say it is far off as man counts time.
okay,
That's his words, like as
right.
man counts time. So to me, that sounds like 100+ years, where like it's not within the foreseeable future.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. He has
Yeah.
another one where the second coming of Jesus, but I think a
Yeah.
lot of these
A
people
lot of
have,
folks had that.
yeah, they
And
have
he
a,
and he was super into the Bible.
yeah. So of course that's going to end up
Right.
somewhere in there, especially with
Which I
the
mean,
religious freedom
you
of
never
China.
know, man. Like that's the like you can like believe or not believe certain. That's why I don't really have a belief structure. I think in my life, it's because I don't know enough about anything, and I don't think anybody else does either, to say anything with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain things that like you can like science law and something that you can prove over and over and over and over and over again. Sure, okay, on Earth, but you can like predict stuff and like think that it's going to work a certain way. Like if a different part of the universe, a different planet, different whatever, it might not work the same there. You don't know. You think that it will, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
don't
mean, dude,
know. You don't know
and like
anything.
if you want to talk, even going into that, like we only know life as carbon based.
Yes.
I mean, dude, for all we know, there are quite literally rock creatures
Yeah. That'd be
out
cool.
there. You know what I mean?
That'd be
Like,
cool.
because we only know how it evolves in our solar system.
Right. We assume water is the basis.
Even let's say even if it's the same for our universe, our galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, there's millions of galaxies.
Billions, like tens of billions.
Yeah. So life as like we know it
right
isn't something, laws of nature doesn't have to apply to the next planet over.
Right.
That's just how it works on our planet.
Right. See, like there's even some theory because I was listening to Michio Kaku talk.
Yeah.
I think it was on Rogan actually, and he's like, there's like parallel dimensions and stuff where like life doesn't even exist, but ours does.
Yeah.
But like, well, even the physics are different there. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not universal. Like these truths
are only true
real
for this
here,
planet.
but we don't know enough about reality. Dude, there's even scientists coming out now that's saying there is no such thing as objective reality. So that you and I do not see reality the same way. Nobody does. It's just subjective to yourself. So like if you were to like be able to like experience my consciousness for like 10 minutes, it would trip you out.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know
what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Like it would freak you out because you don't see it the same way that I do. Well, dude, you don't experience it the same way that I do. You know,
no,
it's pretty awesome, man.
Like even with this too, I think this is probably one of the cooler ones if it does come true. He even predicted a new root race evolving on Earth,
subspecies of human or something.
Yeah, like a new species of human. So it'd be like,
oh man, maybe he was just predicting Planet of the Apes.
Maybe that
it hadn't come out yet. Maybe,
but
that's
like,
what he was
yeah, I could. Well, I mean, we've already kind of had that. We've already kind of had that.
It's the lizard people.
That would
they live in the center of the earth.
Yeah. Well, we've already kind of had that too because we had Homo sapiens and Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Living on, and there are two separate species.
Right.
But we've also had,
which they're planning on bringing back, by the way, if you didn't know that.
A Neanderthal?
Yeah, there's a project to they mapped the genome, like fully mapped it. And they're like, we can bring it back to life. And I think they're actually working on it.
That's a terrible idea.
They're doing it with the mammoth too, and a couple.
Yeah, they are doing it with mammoth. Well, yeah, but at least with a mammoth, it'd just be an animal.
It'd be cool to see a woolly mammoth.
You clone
like it would be cool.
If you clone like a Neanderthal, it brings into that whole thing of like, well, going into like sci-fi, like, do clones have rights? Should you be able to? Yeah.
Yes.
Should we be able to clone them and blah blah blah?
They're alive, so yes.
But I mean, we'd even had it where it was like there was several different versions of humans on the planet at the same time. Yeah. It's just Homo sapiens happened to be the best at adapting.
Everything.
Yeah. So that's why we outwon. Yeah, we won the race.
We out evolutioned them.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Those are, and then again, dude, he has a bunch more too.
Dude, there's literally books.
Yeah.
You could buy
like these are just like some of the top ones I liked looking at.
Yeah, these are the ones that were most
especially
fun.
like the new root race.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Was probably like the coolest thing I saw that he predicted.
Yeah. Because the Atlantis thing I think is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I even think Nostradamus predicted Atlantis
people
being rediscovered.
I don't know if he did or not. But
I mean, what I don't think it is, like, let's say they do find it. What I don't think it is that it's like a fucking city of like crystal buildings and all this crazy shit.
No, it was just.
I just think like when we say advanced, it was an advanced civilization, advanced for 11,000 years ago.
Yeah, which means they had boats and stuff like that.
Right, like you have to you have to like understand, like put advanced in context of
time. Dude, I mean, look at.
But maybe I don't know. Maybe they did have some awesome shit that we forgot, like how to make the pyramids. For instance, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like in Greece, you had this huge centers of learning.
Yeah.
Then they get defeated, and you lose all that.
The Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, Rome, same thing. Mm-hmm. The cultural center of the world, learning books. They get sacked, burn everything.
Yep.
Middle East had the same thing. Before the Crusades.
Oh, tons of history has been lost, dude.
Yeah, like huge advancements in medical and all that, the medical field and all this, and then wars happen and wipe them all out again.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibility that Atlantis existed, and they just
forgot.
If that meteor thing didn't happen, they got beat by somebody else, and all their history was destroyed.
Right. It's very possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
even
happens
now, like
time
a
and
lot
time
of
again in
folks are
history.
saying that, like, it's not really new, but I mean, even stuff like when he's saying like archaeological methods and discovery of civilizations and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, like even just in Egypt, like we found it. It was buried in sand when they did find it. A lot of that stuff, like buried, literally the Sphinx, I think, was buried underground.
I
You know
think
what
it
I
was
mean?
only like the head or something like
Yeah,
that was
they had to,
showing.
like,
Yeah.
you know how long it takes to bury
Move sand.
something that size?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, see, like if you let the
thousands of
wind do
years.
it, if you let the wind do it, it'll like that.
Right. Well, I mean,
It won't take
still
it won't take nature very long at all because they have dunes of moving sand.
Yeah, but I still
It's
think
just
it would
like
have took like
slowly
thousands of
moving.
years to do that.
I don't think it would have taken nearly as long. But then
But
again, if you
the thing
have
is about that though
a
is that,
workforce doing it, you could probably get it done in a few years.
yeah, that's true. But like the other thing is that they're seeing the head's too small for the body, so they think it was recarved into that pharaoh. It was already existing there. You know what I mean? It was probably a lion.
Well, yeah, I think didn't they say it carbon dates before the Egyptian civilization?
Yeah, but carbon dating is also kind of like nebulous sometimes.
Hmm.
But the thing of it is that one guy came out, he's like, there's clear signs of water erosion on this thing, which there hasn't been any reason for water erosion in that area for guess how many years?
Yeah,
11,500 years.
Yeah,
You know what
back
I mean?
when there was a fucking river or something near it,
Or
something like
or
that.
that area was lush and fertile and green and was
Yeah.
essentially a rainforest, and it was raining on it all the time. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't know. Nobody knows nothing.
No,
We
no, I
don't know
mean
nothing.
there's plenty of archaeological evidence stating that like a lot of deserts were at one point
Yeah.
lush.
So like what he's saying here, it's like
Yeah,
essentially if you dig down deep enough in the right place, you're gonna
but
probably
you're gonna
find
find
some stuff that's
yeah,
crazy, that's long lost
because even
civilizations.
with this, like
I think
Atlantis being
Antarctica
discovered,
is a perfect example of that. I bet $100 million if I had it that there's something under that goddamn ice.
there's land under there. It
Well,
used to be
yeah,
like a tropical. No, what I'm saying is
there's
like,
definitely land there.
well, what I'm saying is like it used to be like a temperate zone or something.
Right, but I mean, civilization wise, I think there's
I
definitely
thought
something
okay.
there.
Yeah.
I know that there's ground underneath the ice, but
No, I meant like there
I
used to
know
be
what you meant.
forests,
I know what
But
you
so
meant.
like even with this Atlantis being discovered thing,
Yeah,
we have that going on right now. There's a
yeah,
bunch of people stating we found it. So I mean, like or
yeah.
at
But
least we think we found it.
right, they've been
But yeah, I
saying
mean,
that kind of stuff
he's
forever,
kind
though.
of in on. Yeah, he's not missing the mark very often.
No. All right, guys. Well, that's Edgar Cayce. Like I
Yeah.
said, there's tons of stuff, man. If you want to go get his books and stuff, they're probably good reads. You know what I mean? I don't really
I
read
can't
books
imagine
very
that they
often,
are.
so I'm not gonna read it, or I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I wrote it. I read it, wrote it, read it. There it is.
There you go.
There we go. We landed on it. But thanks for joining us, guys, on the new show.
Yeah.
We're gonna start
And
trying to
soon
pump these
enough,
episodes out. Yeah.
we're gonna we're talking about like starting up a new Facebook account,
Yep.
new Instagram account for our new one.
Yep. By the time this episode gets up, we'll have them up.
Yeah.
So go check out Discount Paranormal on Instagram, on Facebook. I'll have all that stuff created.
YouTube.
And, yep, we'll go from there. Yeah, man. Welcome back, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks for hanging in with us. It's been tough. It's been a tough few months, man. But
yeah, this year hasn't been real good. So
yeah, we're back and hopefully better than ever. So thanks again. We love you.
yeah.
We'll catch you
See
next
y'all
time.
later.
Bye.